Jeremiah chapter 13 verses 1 to 14. This chapter has dramatic warning and similitudes showing the sad consequences of God's people in their captivity. It was illustrated by God Himself to highlight the headlong rush of Israel into destruction. There are 5 warnings given in this chapter. 1. The parable of the marred linen loin girdle, verses 1 to 11. 2. The parable of the wine jars, verses 12 to 14. 3. The warning against pride and arrogance towards God, verses 15 to 17. 4. The warning to the king and the queen mother, verses 18-19. 5. The warning that identified friends of Israel such as Babylon as their conquerors and exploiters, verses 20 to 27. God's people were an unwashed linen girdle, verses 1-2. This discourse is supposed to have been delivered under the reign of Jeconiah, the son of the successor of Jehoiakim, who came to the throne in his 18th year when the Chaldean generals had encamped near to Jerusalem. Verse 1. Thus saith the Lord unto me, Go and get thee a linen girdle, and put it upon thy loins, and put it not in water. So I got a girdle according to the word of the Lord, and put it on my loins. At the command and order of the Lord, the prophet obediently did according to the Lord's word. The linen girdle is the inner garment next to the skin worn with the priestly garments, both for the high priest, Exodus 28:4, and the regular priest, Leviticus 16:4. This very intimate, private and personal garment symbolized the intimate relationship between God and Israel. A girdle was a sign of dignity and nobility and represented Israel's consecration to the Lord. It symbolized righteousness when it was clean and white. Israel, represented as the girdle of the Lord, was chosen for consecrated use. The work of the priest, as a rule, necessarily involved frequent washings both of flesh and garments. The command, put it not in water, in this case was therefore exceptional. Jeremiah wore his girdle in the loin close to the skin, and thus it was polluted and soiled with dirt and sweat. So it was due washing. A garment can remain unwashed if the wearer of the garment chooses to and feels that the garment is good enough to be worn. Otherwise, there are 2 reasons why garment needs to be washed. 1. Water wash cleans the dirt, else the dirt and sweat wears away the cloth. 2. Water wash softens the garment for greater comfort in wearing. A garment cannot remain unwashed. It has to be dependent on water. This symbolizes that Israel cannot be independent without the contact of the water of the Lord's favor. Ezekiel chapter 36 verse 25. This unwashed girdle represents the guilt of the people and moral filth of his people, which was not purified by a real contact with the clean water. In the filthy garments of Joshua in Zechariah 3:3, we have a like symbolism. Hiding the linen girdle, verses 3 to 5. And the word of the Lord came unto me the second time, saying, Take the girdle that thou hast got, which is upon thy loins, and arise, go to the Euphrates, and hide it there in a hole of the rock. So I went and hid it by Euphrates, as the Lord commanded me. Euphrates signifies Babylon. It means that Israel will be deported and carried captive to Babylon. Bible scholars say that Jeremiah could not have interrupted his official duty by going on such a long journey to the Euphrates River. The reason is that the Euphrates River was almost 400 miles from Anathoth, and the 2 journeys to that river by Jeremiah would have required his traveling a distance of some 1600 miles. So, there are 2 views regarding this place. 1. Some say that it was a vision shown by the Lord to be enacted dramatically and presented vividly before the people so that their attention could be very powerfully captured. 2. Others say that Jeremiah went to Ephrathah, Bethlehem, or to Perah, a village 3 miles northeast of Anathoth, which was locally known as Euphrates. Euphrates refers literally to the river near Babylon. the future place of exile for the Jews. This is in the north of Israel. This was the direction from where the future conquerors of Judah would come. God will bide them in Babylon as in the hole of a rock from where they cannot come out for 70 years. This verse tells us that Israel, which was so intimately close to God as an inner linen garment on the loins, had committed spiritual adultery. They had ruined their relationship with God. God now shows His putting them away through Jeremiah taking the soil girdle and hiding it in a hole in a rock. The hole in the rock symbolizes their captivity. Finding the decayed, useless girdle. Verses 6-7. Verse 6. And it came to pass after many days that the Lord said unto me, Arise, go to the Euphrates, and take the girdle from thence, which I commanded thee to hide there. The prophet, by saying that he went to the Euphrates, confirms what he had narrated. He did not indeed mean that he actually went there, but his object was to give the Jews a vivid representation and a lively description. After many days, this was the time enough for the girdle to become spoiled and unfit for use. The interval must have been long enough to be an adequate symbol of the 70 years of Babylonish captivity, which the act of placing the girdle by the Euphrates represented. Take the girdle from there denotes the return of these people from exile according to the prophecy of Jeremiah. Jeremiah chapter 25 verse 11. Verse 7. Then I went to Euphrates and digged and took the girdle from the place where I had hid it, and behold, the girdle was marred, it was profitable for nothing. It means that the people got corrupted because they turned away from God. They became like their neighbors. They got ruined. In the course of time in Babylon, the Jews would be stripped of all its outward greatness and pride and would lose the place which it once occupied among the nations of the earth. They must therefore be cast away as a marred or spoiled girdle, profitable for nothing. They will be lost forever as an identifiable race or nation. This warning was narrated so that the minds of men would be awakened to a sense of their guilt and danger. Ruining the pride of the people. Verses 8-11. Verse 8. Then the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, And now follows the application of the sign of the linen garment to the thing signified, and the whole intention of it is made known. Verse 9. Thus saith the Lord, After this manner will I mar the pride of Judah and the pride of Jerusalem. Verse 9. Thus saith the Lord, After this manner will I mar the pride of Judah and the great pride of Jerusalem. Verse 9 means that as this girdle had been hid in Euphrates and has been marred and rendered useless, so in like manner God will mar the pride of Judah and the great pride of Jerusalem by sending them into captivity. The girdle was the part of the dress on which most embroidered work was commonly lavished, and it was worn by high priests for glory and for beauty. Exodus 28:40. That which they gloried in and were proud of will be burnt, and their temple will be destroyed by the Chaldeans. Their king, princes, and nobles will be carried captive into Babylon and will be stripped of all their grandeur, honor, and glory. Verse 10 and 11 says that the evil, stubborn, and rebellious people of Israel had been to God as this girdle. He brought them near to Himself and allowed them to access Him and have intimate relationship with Him above every nation. He caused them to cleave to Him by the law He gave them, by the prophets He sent among them, and the favors He showed them. But they had, by their idolatries and sins, buried themselves in foreign earth, mingled among the nations, and were so corrupted that they were good for nothing. Israel and Judah did not fulfill the noble and beautiful destiny God planned for them. The three main sins of the people of Israel which made them good for nothing were: 1. They refused to hear His words. 2. They walked in the imagination of their heart. 3. They walked after the other gods to serve and worship them. Since they served other gods and departed from the Lord to whom they should have cleaved, God resolved to pluck them from His loins, and Israel thus became like this rotten girdle. that they might be unto me for a people and for a name and for a praise and for a glory. A people, a name, a praise, a glory. Observe again here the piling of the epithets as if the language must be taxed to the utmost to express what this people are to God. This mode of expressing emphasis illustrates the genius of the Hebrew language and the characteristic of Jeremiah to emphasize God's intimate love for his people. Every bottle filled with wine. Verse 12. Therefore thou shalt speak unto them this word, Thus saith the Lord God of Israel, Every bottle shall be filled with wine, and they shall say unto thee, Do we not certainly know that every bottle shall be filled with wine? The wine symbolized the basic covenant and spiritual relationship between God and Israel. Grape wine, the fruit of the wine, signifies God's blessing for a fruitful life. Isaiah 55:1, Joel 2:23, and Micah 2:11, and was to be offered in the drink offering. Unfortunately, Israel had become a bottled wine and her people became drunkards. Isaiah 5:11, 28:7, and 56:11. In this parable, the bottles represent all the people and the wines in the bottle represents the vessels holding the wrath of God. Intoxication expresses their bewildered confusion and helplessness in the upcoming calamity. It represents the fate of the individual members of the people and the certainty of the impending punishment. The citizens of Jerusalem had permitted a covenant symbol wine to be perverted into evil, that is, filled bottles, so typical of the pagan societies around them. The symbolic phrase, Do we not certainly know that every bottle shall be filled with wine? Means that as the bottle was filled to hold the wine, so the sins of the people made them vessels of God's wrath, fitted for the judgments of God. As wine intoxicates, so God's wrath and judgments shall reduce them to that helpless state that they will rush on to their own ruin. The people of Judah drunk and destroyed. Verses 13-14. Verse 13 is the application of the parable in verse 12. Every bottle means every inhabitant of Judea. No king or false prophets or priest could preserve themselves from the ruin. The cup of the fury of God will be poured out upon all. The Targum, an interpretation of the Hebrew Bible, says, All men will be drunken and stupid, unable to help each other in their distress or advise one another. Verse 14. And I will dash them one against another, even the father and the sons together, saith the Lord. I will not pity, nor spare, nor have mercy, but destroy them. What a stunning picture of the awesome and fearful nature of God's wrath. Bottles not only have the destiny to be filled, they also have the destiny to be dashed and broken. God promised his rebellious people that they would face this destiny if they continued in their sin against them. Even the father and son, instead of assisting each other in their distress, would be destroying one another, which would be notorious in the last siege of Jerusalem. No relation, nor even age nor sex will be regarded. God has resolved to show them no mercy, but bring them to utter ruin and destruction.